Hello everyone, my name is Naz and I welcome to you in my channel Naz Parshala. So today I'm going to take one more interesting story, and through this English story you will learn tenses, vocabulary, pronunciation and how to do perfect reading. So without Chapter 4 The Boy Next Door. The March and the Lawrence's houses were partitioned by a fence. The two houses looked like a contrasting picture, where the Lawrence's has a magnificent mansion and a beautiful garden in front. It looked splendid, with well maintained grounds, yet it seemed to be dull. Hardly any person was seen going in and out of the house, except Laurie and his grandfather. After meeting Laurie, Joe was all the more curious to know about him and wanted to see his mansion from inside. Even Laurie showed his interest in knowing her and making himself acquainted with her. One day, Joe was determined to go and secretly watch Laurie from her window. She could see that Laurie was sitting by his window and thinking about something. Joe was sad to see Laurie all alone and decided to befriend him. She made a snowball and threw it at Laurie's window to draw his attention towards her. When he heard the noise, he got up and opened his window to find Joe waving at him. Joe shouted, "What happened to you? Why are you so pensive, sitting by yourself? Don't you like to make friends and invite them to your place? Every boy likes girls. Don't you?" Laurie refused to acknowledge that he didn't know any girl. Joe protested that she was a girl who lived right next to his house, so he could call her for a visit. Laurie then asked her if she could come. Instantly, she agreed and ran to her home to take something for Laurie. She came out of carrying a covered dish in her hands. As she stood at the door of his house, Laurie came outside and greeted her. Joe presented the dish, which was custard from her mother, for him, and his grandfather accepting the dish. Laurie took her to the parlor and then they sat down for a brief chat. While talking, Joe realized that Laurie knew all her sisters by names even when she had not told him. When she asked him how, he replied that he often heard them calling each other by their names, so he knew. Joe confessed that she was very talkative and was often scolded due to her uncontrollable urge to talk. Laurie confided in her that she was lonely. In her that he was lonely and without a mother, so he enjoyed looking at the March house and secretly hearing what was happening in their house. Joe, then sensing his loneliness, invited him to her house for some cheer, but she also knew that it was impossible that his grandfather would not allow him to go to the March house. They kept talking for quite some time about everything under the sun. They got to know a lot about each other and also about their families. Laurie then asked her, "Joe, would you like to see my house? I can show you around. Grandpa has a huge collection of books and you can see that too." Joe was overjoyed at the offer and accepted. They went to the library and there Joe looked in admiration at the shelves loaded with books. She sighed, as she could never have such luxury to read in her own library. Laurie's grandfather's portrait caught her attention, and she kept looking at it for some minutes. While she was looking at it, Mr. Lawrence himself entered the library, finding Joe looking so carefully at his own picture. "What are you doing here, girl?" the old man with shining eyes asked, so flushed with embarrassment and couldn't say a word for some seconds. But then she replied, "Sir, I'm Joe from our neighborhood. I just wanted to be friendly to Laurie as he has no friends." The old man replied, "I agree with you, young lady. But before everything else, you need to join us for tea, which is served outside. Now, don't make any further delays and come with me." Joe did as she was taught and asked to join the grandfather and grandson for tea. The old man noticed the friendly banter between Laurie and Joe and liked Joe for being outspoken. After the tea, Joe was taken to a room where Laurie played piano for her, being happy about a day well spent at the Lawrence house. Joe went back to all her small home and narrated the day's incident to her mother and sister, who were glad to know about the Lawrence family. Mrs. March even asked Joe to invite Laurie to their home someday. And then there were frequent visits to the Lawrence houses by all the sisters, except Beth, who couldn't muster even courage and was too shy to go along with her sisters. Beth wanted to play the grand piano but couldn't get herself to visit their neighbor's house, as she was scared of Laurie's grandfather. Joe had access the Lawrence library. Meg could go anytime to their conservatory, and Amy could also draw from the painting hanging on the walls of the Lawrence house. Mr. Lawrence eventually came to know about Beth and decided to drive away her fears himself. He made his first visit to the Marsh house, and while there steered the conversation to music related matters. Then he offered to let the girls come over to his place to practice their music lessons on his piano. He also said that they were welcome at any time of the day, and whenever they felt like playing, they could come immediately. This offer was too tempting for Beth, and she could resist it. After some effort, she finally sneaked through the side door in the Lawrence house and played the piano until evening. Then she came back home, quite happy to indulge in her favorite things, music. She did the same thing for some days and then decided to thank Mr. Lawrence for his priceless gift by presenting to him a pair of slippers. She didn't want to confront Laurie's grandfather herself, so asked for Laurie's help to write and then place the gifts in his library. 5 days passed, and there was no word from Mr. Lawrence, which left Beth thinking if he had got the gift or not. Then she was taken by her sisters to the parlor of the Lawrence house. In the room, there was a little piano with a letter on it in the name of Elizabeth March. Beth asked Joe, "Who was written a letter to me? What does all this mean?" "Hold on, Beth. The letter is for you. This piano is a gift from Mr. Lawrence to you. Is not he a great man?" "No. Now forget everything and play something for us," Joe said. Beth was too surprised to react at first, but when she calmed down a little, she played the most beautiful tune they had ever heard. Joe suggested, "Beth, don't you think you should thank dear Mr. Lawrence for this amazing surprise?" "I'm going right now, or I will be scared if I think too much," Beth answered. Everyone was shocked to see Beth actually going to the Lawrence house. She went up to Mr. Lawrence's library and knocked on the door. The old man opened the door and let her in. Beth was shivering and started as, Sir, I am really grateful to you. And then she forgot what she was saying due to nervousness. She couldn't say anything else and just went up to him and hugged him. That was the end of her fear. For watching. If you like my videos, please hit the bell icon for more updating videos. Like, share, comment and subscribe my channel Nas Parshala. Thank you, take care and be safe at home.